It's a privilege to have such a distinguished audience this morning in Bucharest. After the meeting between the presidents of Romania and the United States yesterday, I think the hashtag We Are NATO does apply to Bucharest in a special way. The Aspen Institute is privileged to have the 4th edition of this NATO conference together with our friends from the Alliance, from the Public Diplomacy Department. And I'd like to thank Sorin Ducaru and the exceptional NATO team for always being with us. The title of our conference, I think, is beyond the catchy phrases of talking about society and resilience and threats. There is a moment in contemporary history where our fundamentals are tested, and things that we believed are there to stay, things that we believed are the guarantors of world order and world peace are under huge question marks. The two presidents yesterday mentioned the fact that we started the partnership with America 20 years ago. President Trump said it was more than 20 years ago. It was almost 20 years ago. It was on July 11th, 1997. Romania joined NATO roughly 15 years ago. We joined the EU more or less 10 years ago. And I think there is a moment when nations that came later to the West, nations like Romania or Poland or Eastern flank countries, or older members like Turkey and other critical members of the Alliance, I think this is a time to really be together again. This is a moment when even the exceptionally warm remarks of the American president towards Romania and towards Article 5, finally, I think there is a little bit of jealousy in other corners of the alliance that this was the moment when President Trump decided to mention the catchphrase and the fundamental phrase which keeps the alliance together. I think beyond politics and beyond rhetorical questions, not even such commitments from the leadership of America can be taken as a guarantee, because the world is unstable and the world is changing and the moods of our public opinions are swinging. Like in the UK, you see that things are really under major stress. The Aspen Institute, for the last 10 years in Romania and in the region, we try to invest in leadership. We still believe that our flagship programs, the leadership programs, and we have some of our fellows and alumni present and actively involved in the life of our organization, is the most important thing we have done. There's nothing more important than investing in young men and women in Romania, in the region, and try to defend the liberal values of freedom, of democracy. In fact, what's the glue of the alliance? And the fact that Mr. Putin put so much pressure on all of us is not the only threat we are facing. Russia is a big threat, but the threat is also coming from within. The threat is for some of our fellow countrymen and countrywomen that are still beginning to doubt if what we propose in terms of values, in terms of governance, in terms of quality of life and dignity of life is something that really serves them. This is why I think organizations like Aspen and NATO and the EU and other NGOs and other business organizations and citizens and people, we have to start reflecting and we start to have acting. Today, a few days only after the NATO summit in Brussels, a few days probably before President Trump will visit Europe again, and probably Geoană probably I think he will have a stop in Poland afterwards. And we are good friends. I think there is no jealousy between Romania and Poland on who's doing what first. This is what we think we should do together today. It's an exceptional participation. I would like to thank first and foremost my former boss and the person whom I owe so much for my political and public career, Minister Meleșcanu. I think it was not only me, but a huge generation of young diplomats at that time that benefited from his wisdom and his graceful management of young quasi-talents. I would like to thank General Nicolae Sugar, the Joint Chiefs, the Chief of Romanian General Staff in Romanian jargon. General, I just returned yesterday from Washington with all the 7 Aspen Institute in Europe meeting our friends in Washington. And I have to say here emphatically this time that the respect you enjoy from your friends and from the colleagues you served with in America, people in uniform, people at the top of the Pentagon, is just unprecedented, and we are very privileged to have you here. I'd like also to thank the other speakers. I come back to Sorin Ducaru. We served together as ambassadors in Washington, and I have to say that the enduring mark that Sorin left there and what he has done in his important position in NATO makes Sorin probably one of the best products we ever exported. His professionalism, his generosity, and his sense of friendship is something that we all applaud. And I only hope that in the next iterations, I see also Florin Itza from the External Action Service, from the Commission. I only hope that many other talented Romanians will be in key positions. I see our colleagues from the NATO Brigade here. I want to salute all our friends. And of course, I want to salute old friends like Charlie Rees from RAND. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming again to Bucharest. And Bruno Lete, our friends from GMF, our traditional partners. Yesterday we had a very interesting dinner speaking about how can we make the 2% of GDP, that of course the government, not only the President's office, will be in the situation to deliver upon, together with the Ministry of Defense, with the Minister Vladica and the others. But I think the question, and this is something that I hope we'll have a conversation throughout the day, this is not only about investing, not spending, investing 2% of GDP in defense. This is long overdue. But the question is, looking into Poland and looking into Turkey, how can we make the rest of the economy benefit from such a significant investment? Over the next 10 years, there will be probably more than 60 billion euros that Romania will invest in defense and related defense issues. This is a question that I think Romania has to ask itself. This is not only about defense, which is important, it's also about resilience, it's about the depth of our economy. It's about moving the country to the next level on the global economic value chain. This is in fact what is at stake. It's not only defense, it's about the depth of our economic model, of our societal model, about the way to wither the huge tempests that are still to come in world affairs. This is not the end of a moment of uncertitude. This is the beginning of a era of uncertitudes. And this is where I think we should try to give at least a partial answer to these big questions. I would like to thank also the ones who are not yet present for the other panels. Radu Tudor and Irina, thank you so much for being here and moderating this. Radu is one of the top journalists of the country that really have an in-depth knowledge and sophistication about security and about defense and related issues. He also sometimes goes into heavy-hitting politics in Romania, but I think your qualifications and your sophistication is very much appreciated by all of us. I will also to conclude my introductory remarks saying basically that I truly believe that the newcomers into EU and NATO, countries like Romania, all our neighbors and friends, the ones who were separated by history and geopolitics and great power politics, from our natural family of Western developed nations. I have an intense conviction that countries like ours, and I say this at the plural because this is not a beauty contest. The fact that the President of Romania was the first one to be received and received these gracious words and committal words from President Trump, this is not a beauty contest. This is not about Romania, it's about all of us. I have a deep conviction that our countries, even smaller in size, even with still weak economies, even with still relatively weak governance, we have something that will be exceptionally useful to the Western family of nations. We have the intensity of the belief. We have the adrenaline of trying to go up faster. We have something that Dudu Ionescu, my dear friend, and I thank him for being with us all the time, always says that this is something which is in our DNA, and this is something that I think we'll be bringing to the communities that will be doing this thing. And it's not, again, a small country from the Baltic region can be an example to the world about e-government. A bigger country from Central Eastern Europe can be a champion of good neighborhood. A medium-sized country from Southeast Europe can really show that we can articulate a vision where also countries that are not yet into NATO or the EU or never be in NATO and EU can be part of the same family of values. This is something that I strongly believe that will be probably, if not the locomotives, if not the tandems, but if somebody would ask me where I see the governance and the leadership of Europe in the next 10, 20 years, I will see a hexagon. A hexagon where the current big four countries, Poland and Romania, probably will be the leading countries and will be the countries that will be giving a balanced, a diverse, and still united vision of the West. We are again privileged to have been chosen again by NATO and the Public Diplomacy Department as the partners. We are ready to continue this partnership for the years to come. And on behalf of the Aspen Institute, of my fellow trustee, Daniel Bada from Clifford Chance, from the members of the Institute, John Florescu, I think I've seen him someplace, about fellows that I see them, including Minister Geoană, who will be coming later for the other panel. He's also an Aspen Fellow. To our exceptional staff, and also to the ones helping us at the conference, thank you very much. It is my privilege and my great honor to invite to have a keynote address the Foreign Minister of Romania and one of the wise men of our society, Minister Teodor Beleșcan. Teo, the floor is yours.